Imagine a force that doesn't arrive with swords drawn, but instead offers a deceptive, warm hand of friendship. In 18th century India, this was known as Mita Zahar, sweet poison. By the late 1700s, the East India Company was losing its grip. Under Governor-General John Shore, rigid policies had caused British influence to slip, while the Marathas grew increasingly powerful across the subcontinent. To reverse this decline, the company turned to Lord Wellesley. He arrived with a clear mandate: secure total British supremacy without exhausting the company's treasury in constant warfare. Wellesley's solution was the Subsidiary Alliance System. While framed as a mutual defense treaty, the system functioned as a calculated geopolitical trap. This strategy allowed the British to dismantle the sovereignty of Indian states from within, using paper and ink to achieve what armies often could not. The specific conditions of Wellesley's treaty functioned as a series of tightening constraints that systematically stripped a state of its autonomy. The first term seemed beneficial. The British would provide a trained army to protect the state from internal uprisings and external invasions. In exchange, the ruler had to pay the full cost of this military presence. If the treasury ran dry, the state was forced to compensate the British by ceding entire provinces of equivalent income. Sovereignty vanished further under the third and fourth terms. The state could no longer wage war, sign treaties, or even employ other foreigners without explicit British permission. To ensure total compliance, an English representative was permanently stationed within the ruler's own assembly to monitor every administrative decision. The geographic spread of this system was vast. The Nizam of Hyderabad was the first to sign, followed by the rulers of Mysore, Awadh, and the Maratha houses of Gaikwad, Scindia, Bhosle, and Holkar. By accepting these 5 conditions, these rulers traded their long-term independence for an immediate but hollow sense of security. Not every power was willing to swallow the poison. In the south, the Kingdom of Mysore recognized the Subsidiary Alliance as a threat to its existence. Tipu Sultan explicitly refused Wellesley's terms, choosing to maintain his independent authority despite the increasing British pressure. The refusal triggered a violent response. In 1799, Wellesley's forces, supported by the Nizam, assaulted Mysore, initiating the Fourth Mysore War. The conflict ended on the battlefield. Tipu Sultan died fighting the company's troops, refusing to surrender his kingdom to the treaty system. This created a stark contrast in the landscape of Indian power. Rulers who signed remained on their thrones as supervised subordinates, while those who resisted faced total military erasure. After Wellesley, the independent power of the Indian states was largely compromised, leaving them structurally dependent on the East India Company. When Governor-General Hastings arrived, his task was to consolidate this control and suppress the final remnants of armed resistance. Hastings expanded the company's military reach, subduing Nepal and integrating the Gorkhas into the army. He then neutralized the Pandaras and defeated the Marathas in a third and final war. 3 developments defined this period: Wellesley's diplomatic trap, the 5 conditions that dismantled local rule, and Tipu Sultan's final stand in 1799. The Subsidiary Alliance System demonstrated that a state can be conquered just as effectively by a signed treaty as by a cannonade, turning sovereign rulers into the architects of their own subordination.